In the rapidly growing and crowded middleweight sport bike class, primarily dominated by 2- and 4-cylinder bikes, Triumph decided to enter the scene, filling the gap with their new Daytona 660, powered by an inline-3 engine. And in today's video, we are diving in for a closer look at it and seeing how it stacks up against its closest competition. First, let's talk about the powerhouses. The R7 is powered by a liquid-cooled parallel twin engine with a 270-degree crank, boasting 689 cc of displacement, while on the flip side, the Daytona is packed with a liquid-cooled inline-3 engine that is heavily based on the Trident 660, featuring 660 cc of displacement and 240-degree even firing order. So it doesn't have the Triumph T-plane crank that has a unique uneven firing order. But the engine is revamped with a new cylinder head, new camshafts, a new crankshaft, a new exhaust system, and notably, a new triple throttle body setup instead of the Trident single throttle body. The Daytona has a 12:1 compression ratio, slightly higher than the R7. Then as for the valve train, both have a double overhead cam with 4 valves per cylinder, and for transmission, both engines are equipped with 6-speed wet clutch transmissions featuring assist and slipper. In terms of fuel capacity, the Daytona can hold 14 liters of fuel, which is a liter more than the Yamaha. And then when it comes to sipping fuel, the Triumph is thirstier than the Yamaha, roughly around 0.7 liters per 100 kilometers, or about 16% more. Moving on to power output. While the Daytona engine is based on the Trident 660, the changes and revisions to the engine that we talked about earlier managed to bump up the peak power by 17%, making the Daytona able to produce an impressive 95 horsepower on the crank, which is 22 ponies more than the R7, mainly from its higher peak RPM and the extra cylinder advantage. But if we compare the new 660 Daytona with the OG 675 Daytona, they are pretty much different bikes. The original Daytona was a more aggressive, serious, and track-oriented bike that packed much more power and was on the same level as pure supersports such as the Ninja ZX-6R or the Yamaha R6. While on the other hand, the new Daytona is more of a budget-friendly middleweight, keeping things easy and comfy for everyday street cruising. Moving on to torque, the Daytona with its smaller displacement and higher cylinder count surprisingly cranks out a bit more torque than the R7. And while the Daytona flexes stronger top-end power and a higher redline, Triumph says they didn't give up much down low, with more than 80% of the maximum torque available from 3,000 to 11,000 RPM. So in theory, it might not beat the R7 off the line, but it won't be left in the dust either. Now when it comes to weight, the R7 makes up for its lower horsepower and torque by being impressively light, tipping the scales at only 188 kilograms, which is 13 kilograms lighter than the Triumph. However, despite the weight advantage the R7 boasts, unfortunately, it's not enough to close the horsepower gap, as the Daytona still holds roughly a 20% higher power-to-weight ratio compared to R7. Talking about features, the Triumph outshines the Yamaha, primarily due to the R7's very limited tech. Aside from the ABS brakes that come standard, there are basically no other features on the R7, while the Daytona gets switchable traction control and ride-by-wire throttle with 3 riding modes to choose from. Then, both Yamaha and Triumph provide the option for a quickshifter, but Triumph's optional factory-fit quickshifter includes an auto blipper thanks to the availability of a ride-by-wire system. On the dash, the R7 is equipped with a simple LCD display, while the Daytona gets a TFT and LCD combo display, where the LCD provides information on speed, revs, gear position, and fuel level. And then the tiny color TFT screen displays other functions, such as the app-based turn-by-turn navigation that's available with the optional My Triumph connectivity system. As for the chassis, the R7 features a steel trellis frame based on the MT-07, while the Daytona gets a steel tubular perimeter frame derived from the Trident, but with some notable changes to suit the Daytona's sportier style, such as a sharper head angle, shifting from 24.6 degrees to 23.8 degrees. When it comes to front suspension duties, the R7 outperforms the Daytona with a 41mm Kaiba upside-down fork that offers a full range of adjustability, whereas the Daytona's fork lacks any adjustable settings. At the rear, the R7 is fitted with a superior monoshock that allows adjustment for preload and rebound, while the Daytona's only offers adjustable preload. Then, in terms of stopping power, the Daytona gets twin 4-piston radial calipers specifically made for Triumph, bearing company's own logo. But in terms of design, they look very much like the J1 calipers, seen on various other brands, such as KTM and CF Moto. On the other hand, the R7 features twin Advix 4-piston radial calipers, biting on slightly smaller discs compared to the Daytona. Notably, the Daytona gets metal braided brake lines as standard, and the R7 comes equipped with a Brembo master cylinder. They both roll on similar-sized tires, 120mm up front and 180mm at the back. As for dimensions, not only does the R7 weigh less than the Daytona, but it also boasts more compact dimensions. With a shorter wheelbase at 1,395mm, 30mm less than the Daytona, and a slightly narrower width, about 31mm less. Then, as for seat height, the R7 stands a bit taller, around 20mm, and when it comes to price, they're pretty much neck and neck, with the Daytona undercutting the R7 by just $4. However, for the Daytona, if you prefer another color than white, you need to spend an extra $125. Lastly, let's hear the sounds. First up is the Triumph's inline 3 engine, with stock and aftermarket exhaust. Now let's check out what the R7's parallel twin crossplane sounds like, also with stock and aftermarket exhaust. So, which one should you pick? Well, if you ride on the track as often as you ride on the street, you might want to consider the R7. Although it's got less top-end power, it's lighter, more compact, and a blast to throw around corners. Perfect for tearing it up on the track or carving through canyons. On top of that, it also has a more aggressive riding position and a fully adjustable fork that suits track needs. But if your bike is mainly for your daily commute, the Daytona is worth a serious thought. The riding position is more comfortable, and it is equipped with rider aids that are useful for city riding, such as riding modes, traction control, and turn-by-turn navigation.